It's the Jim Fannon Show. We've come to take your mind.
Am I still on? Sandor's in the house with me again. It's been a while since we talked to him. He's since launched NiagaraBase.com. Buckle in and welcome aboard. Ow! Jay Beatty with the intro. Thank you for not skating over it. Even Josh Bigger came on the other day. He skated over my intro. I'm like, dude, what's up with my guests lately skating over my intro? That's the failure of the host if you're getting that kind of stuff. Here's Sandor on the twatter. Here he is, Niagara based on Fake Book. The links are in the show description. I didn't really nail the show title, but whatever. We're moving on. NiagaraBase.com is right here. And we got a couple tweets set up.
Did you title this Defending Masculinity? You're really setting me up for trouble. Like, really, this guy? Sandor Ligetfalvy's Defending Masculinity? You see in these pipes? Come on. I'm more like defending rationality, if anything.
Well,
I'm really not the masculinity defender. But I think what you mean is something. And we'll talk about whatever it is you meant.
There's been an attack on masculinity, and these traditional forms of being a man are not acceptable anymore, and they're deemed toxic, and it's destroying our...
That's right. We were talking about male alienation.
Yeah, we're talking about a little
male
bit of
alienation, a society that alienates its males.
There's a war on church. There's a war on the family. There was a war for our kids' mind. Our prepubescent children they're fair game now, and
I got one of those.
It enrages me, man. And if anyone's ever seen us do a show together, they know I'm intensely grateful for meeting your young child when I did, and the effect that it had on me. You telling me, this kid's going to be over a year old, and he will not have had human interactions with barefaced people. Can you even believe we're saying the word barefaced? Like, masking is so normal now for so many, and it will be forever type of thing. So that was a turning point for me after our interview years ago. Well, how long would have that been? He would have been about 8 months old back then, right? 10 months old, something like that, because we're talking about the mask mandate that came down in Niagara. I think it was August.
You're only 5 or 6 months old at the time.
Right, yeah, because it came down in August, and you were saying, it'll be April before this thing's lifted, and that's too long, and it's no good, and so that was a turning point for me, so I'm grateful for your influence. Thank you for that.
Well, coming on your show has always been a turning point for me too.
Yeah, well,
and sometimes for the better.
Yeah, and I've been digging your podcast lately, and I think if I could just help you out just a little bit, I think when you click the main screen, the Zoom window goes away, right? So as soon as you click the Zoom window back, it pops back up in OBS. I think that's what I've been noticing as well. Because when you have it minimized and it's in the corner, like
it was a bitrate thing. The bitrate crashed. The Zoom, because it's broadcasting an empty Zoom room to nobody. So maybe I could do some sort of alternative to wasting my bandwidth broadcasting a Zoom room to myself.
It didn't seem like it was a bandwidth issue because everything else was smooth and clear. You were just losing the Zoom window. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Yeah. I think it's great. And if we don't,
well, you got to have evening updates. You got to be engaging because people like to listen. They like to engage with human communication, which is the spoken word. So I got a fresh webcam here.
Nice.
And I got a microphone. So I got a disappearing arm.
Yeah, nice.
So I'm doing well.
Nice.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me. How are you doing? You doing good?
Okay. Another down day today. I had a big, long, sweaty nap just before I come out here. I've moved. That was a little stressful. And then, but the building I'm in now has got some really great expat women who are friendly. And I picked up some fresh soup that's waiting for me after the show and a couple homemade cookies. And so, yeah, I had a long crash today. I woke up, the pillow was soaked, and I haven't been feeling that well. So I'm hopefully getting better. I don't know if I got something working on me or whatever, but for the last couple of weeks, I haven't been feeling the greatest. But I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, which is normal for me now, it seems. And I caught your show, this first show I've seen you back at in a while. And I think I got notified on Facebook that Niagara Based was live, so I clicked on it. Boom. And I stayed with it, and I don't know, it was 40 minutes or something like that, and I love it, and it's not just because you're speaking
the one
my language,
I had to delete because it was too spicy.
I don't know.
Sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes it gets a little spicy. Sometimes.
Yeah, well,
I was a little spicy that night. I have to maintain a certain middle tone, and it was an after midnight broadcast, and so I was a little bit loose. There's a bit too much mockery.
Okay. You know what? I was gonna say, let's have some fun. Let's mock some people today. Let's mock them into the ground because, I don't know. Can we be canceled any further? Can we? No one's at risk of going.
Less.
Oh my gosh!
I'm trying to be slightly less canceled. No, I mean because
just fell off my chair.
I just don't want to alienate people. I do want to clearly communicate where my feelings are coming from, but I don't want it to be in a way that's like as obnoxiously and alienating as possible. Because, well, I mean, that's one of the themes that we were going to talk about is the male alienation and males being antagonized into alienation, and all of the maladaptive ways that males might lash out once alienated. And the thought first occurred to me after the series of vandalisms that took place. The Harriet Tubman School was vandalized, and the usual suspects were giving their usual comments on who to blame. And of course, Carrie Porter blamed everyone, actually including herself slightly. She blamed white supremacy. She blamed racism. She blamed everyone outside of the school. And I started wondering, well, what's going on inside the school that this is what boys are ending up doing? I mean, we got some suspect pictures from the NRPS about who did these vandalisms, and they can't be any older than 22. And off they went doing some antisocial behavior. And if we interpret it through the lens of leftist hate, we're really missing the mark. We need to interpret this through psychological and sociological lenses. And so that brought my attention to looking at not what's happening outside of Harriet Tubman, but what's happening inside Harriet Tubman. And that got me looking into their documents. And so we'll take a look at that. Perhaps there's a lot of male alienation taking place because you phrased it, the war on masculinity. Okay, I mean that's probably a pretty good way to put it. And what is masculinity? What is tonic masculinity? What is the masculinity that is
toxic? Yeah.
I said tonic.
Oh yeah. Okay, I thought you meant.
I said tonic. I meant
tonic.
To say tonic.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, no, that's the perfect word.
What's the nice one? Because there's a lot of talk about the toxic masculinity, but not much about tonic masculinity. So earlier this week, I went to this anti-hate event that was hosted by the city in Niagara Falls, and there was this academic leftist there giving a presentation. And one of the things she said is that the Freedom Convoy was the worst of toxic masculinity. And I really think she's missed the mark on what's going on there. And I think that failure to make an accurate assessment is alienating on a basic level. You missed the mark. You did not correctly understand why there's honking and why there's jeering and so forth. In fact, it's almost like they're trying to intervene on something that's going wrong in their lives and in their society, which is heroic. It's not. It's the opposite of toxic. So that's what's been going on.
Nancy
Got the
Graham.
new website, Jim.
Yep, Nancy Graham is just getting in here via YouTube. I think she's on the TrueTube channel, although I did open another account called the Jim Fannon Show because I've lost so many. Hey, hi, Sandor and Jim. Sandor's scraping event got my attention. I stopped feeling alone and became a rebel with a flag and a few stickers on my car. Not, quote, scrape-worthy stickers, but good stickers. Sorry, I may appear to be over-commenting. I'm viewer one of one viewer, so it's basically me. Welcome aboard, Nancy. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for that comment. That is an interesting comment to hear. It's gratifying, because there's often some doubt about whether or not that was a beneficial stunt, and that's what it was. It was a stunt. What a stunt.
Is it worth going through the parody of the stunt that kind of started it all, really, for you in this phase of your life? I mean, you've had other phases. You're a Brock Bug for a long time. You're really active there. But this was kind of a new character, a new fight, this was kind of your coming out party. You want to go over, because I think it's, for those that haven't seen you, it's a good place to set the foundation of, like, why you were triggered into action, right? So I don't think that's a lost conversation. We can talk about everything else.
I mean, there's an ongoing psychological war, and I felt that it was a iconic invasion of every surface, and then I just wanted to send a signal that what was taking place was wrong, reverse the iconoclasm. They were knocking down statues. And so I peeled up some stickers, and that was that. You're right that I used to have Brock Bug, and Brock Bug was a second iteration of a project called Busu Leaks. So the reason I became a critic of Brock University and the student union was because I was an employee of their TV station, Brock TV. And they hired me to be involved in Brock TV, and I felt that they weren't serving their constituents. They were taking student money and failing to any journalistic. They weren't covering the student government. They were actually a branch of the student government, and there was no critical feedback through the media, and that bothered me. And I thought it was a waste of money, and so I started a blog, and then that blog expanded to the student union, and then I realized that it needed to expand even further to the context of the university itself. And so what started as Busu Leaks became the Brock University Gadfly. And perhaps in a similar way, that's sort of what's taking place with WTF Niagara and Niagara Based. It's also a fresh coat of paint and a cleaner, more organized, more sensible, take it a little bit more seriously approach. So let's check out the website when you're ready to roll.
Just so we can honor the live guests, Nancy gets in again. Epic stunt. I watched the video frequently. The PA announcement, quote, Karen to the front desk ASAP. Her name is fucking Karen. You can't make this funny shit up. You just can't.
We got another Karen.
Primo gets in.
Tonight.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I thought this was a Nancy comment again, but that was Nancy, and this is Primo. Hi, Jim. You are way better. I think he meant then watching the police beating the shit out of peaceful Canadians outside the tomb of the unknown soldier right now. And this is part of my heartbreak. Here we got James Topp, a Canadian military man at 28 years, I think, something like this, walking across Canada, against the mandates, against, I don't know exactly, I shouldn't speak for him because I don't have the website up and I wasn't prepared to talk about it since Primo brought it up. And it's so current right now and kind of speaks to all the issues we're talking about. Here's a guy walking across and nobody picked it up. The mainstream media was not touching the James Top story, and I'd love to speak to him. And
until about 5 days ago. Or 4 days ago, when the Sun finally picked it up.
Yeah, right.
And now Pierre took a walk with him, and now all of the usual suspects on the leftist media are trying to cast aspersions on Pierre Poilievre and James Top.
One of the girls,
the raging dissident guy, or something.
One of the girls from Global News quote tweeted the report of Pierre with him, and she said the liberal attack ads are being created live right here. Could you be any more biased?
Was she talking about her own tweet?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Unbelievable, but it's so deeply ingrained in the media. But welcome aboard, Primo. Thank you. Yeah, he says, unfortunately, it's happening. And this is part of my heartbreak. I'm trying to look away from Canadian news and politics. I'm trying to look away from it all. It's really difficult for me because it's like a drug, just like social media is. But this is, again, another heartbreaking low period in Canada's history, a story like James Top, and if it's turning violent in Ottawa. And now they're banning Canadian flags from the Parliament for the holiday weekend.
I haven't seen the confirmation of that, but I have heard that being floated around right now in the last couple of days.
Well, Rebel News had a guy with a camera at the gate, and they said no flags, no Canadian flag specifically. So what? You can fly the Pride flag, but you can't fly the Canadian flag. It's Pride Month still. It won't be for long. Can't wait till it's over.
Well, the Pride flag does represent the new order. Without a doubt, the Pride flag represents the new order, and without a doubt, the flag that represents the Canadian flag that was designed in 1967 or designed in 64 and then picked up and then distributed and then made official by the late 60s. That flag in that era is come and gone. Nice flag though. Quality flag, good brand. Simple. Canada was a great brand. Right. You remember the sort of the mid-90s Canadian brand? Oh, that was good times. It was probably all crap bullshit the entire time. And that which we believe in has been nothing but a cynical lie.
Are you grateful for the amount of awareness that exists for you now and other people are waking up? Are you grateful at least to be red-pilled at some... I mean, you've been a skeptic and a conspiracy believer, not a theorist. There was a whole, we talked about 9/11 last time. There's so much that the official story doesn't ring true. Are you grateful, at least personally, that you have the awareness that the system is really fighting against it? Like this new world order, I'm new to this, man. This WEF thing, it took Zuby and some really high profile people to start linking COVID and the shot and the WEF's agenda all together. And I'm like, shit, I tried not to buy into that, but it seems like they make great points, man. So I just wonder about how you feel about the the awareness that exists for you.
I mean, happy to be me. Wouldn't have it any other way. Heck yeah. Born for this stuff, as I said to you in one of our prior conversations. Definitely. Very grateful.
Nancy says, I know, I think it's harder to be red-pilled. It's easier to be dumb.
And that's what it's all about now is I kind of tried to try other approaches, maybe not confront the news and the opinion and making myself available to talk. But I think I saw this quote, something like, I can't leave because I'm the one carrying the light that has the knowledge. So if I fail to continue to carry that light, then with that which would be illuminated would be still obscured. And I have a particular media literacy level and production skill level and psychological profile where I'm not as concerned about the consequences of raising particular issues. So leading up until the end of winter, I was almost entirely masks, vaccines, and COVID. Not even vaccines. Let's call it the ethics of government mandates. That was my primary. But now my focus is actually a couple of steps wider, the wider approach, because I can't be afraid to challenge the entirety of the woke philosophy. And so simply challenging government mandates while failing to challenge woke philosophy in schools and in government, then we're really missing the mark. And we're really arguing yesterday's argument, which I think, if not has been won, then there's a serious foothold on behalf of the people regarding the question of the ethics of government mandates. Which, so that's why Niagara based is, what based is this phrase that sort of means the opposite of woke. And whatever the woke is, the based is the opposite of woke. So I'm not, I have my own philosophical perspective, but the objective of the website is to cast light into a dark room, and we're looking at the building behind us here, the Niagara Region headquarters, which is just another municipal corporation that's been completely co-opted and subverted by World Economic Forum, UNESCO, and the woke. So schools, governments, media, they're all in on it.
It makes me think that, I sometimes speak about the minority of people that we cater to, the LGBT community, the trans community, whatever it is, the vast minority of people. And they have such a loud voice. But just as you're speaking about the building behind you on Shimon Parkway in Thorold, it occurs for me that it's literally not the minority. The WEF is a huge worldwide movement, and maybe it's not the majority of the people on the planet, but it's not just a fringe minority that we're catering to. We're being taken over by world forces, really.
Well, the way you expressed that just now was slightly conflated, because those are sort of we're talking about slightly different things. Imagine the World Economic Forum as the queen on the chessboard, and the particular identitarian groups you describe as the pawns and the rooks. So yeah, it all fits together on the same game board, for sure. And there are higher value pieces on the board than the others. And ultimately, the point of a pawn is sacrifice, to put the issue forward and then have it affect the field of play, and then you lose the piece. It doesn't matter to the player if they lose the piece. So. And that actually is the huge concern. Under the mind control that they have us under this presumption that if you oppose diversity, equity, and inclusion, that you're in favor of non-diversity, non-equity, and non-inclusion. But that's not the case at all. Actually, I deeply resent that they've used as tokens of their communist agenda underprivileged and hurting people. They've taken the fractures of our society and driven wedges into them, not because they care about the people, but because they want to bust up the whole society. And that's dangerous for all of us. And it's not like it's in the favor of these identitarian niche groups to be involved in this coalition, because it may not play out exactly how they want. As we understand from history, the useful idiots in Marxist revolution, the useful idiots are disposable to the elite who are organizing the communist revolution. So, I caution those true believers on the left to look down the road and see where this is headed for themselves. I do. You still there?
Yeah, I'm just commenting on Facebook because my chat bot doesn't go over there.
Excuse me.
All right, so let's hit some of these links that you sent me. Exit full screen. Minimize. There we go. Okay, NiagaraBase.com. I'm on the home page. You've got some links up. Tell me about how this is progressing and where you're at and how it came to be. And then we'll hit some of these Twitter links.
NiagaraBase.com. News, opinion.
Why? Finally,
videos.
This. Didn't
comics.
you have anything before as a website goes? You've got a bunch of website names, don't you?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
You have a bunch of websites registered, don't you?
I do. I'm a new media digital guy.
So just give us a quick background on the why behind Niagara Based and what people expect when they go. NiagaraBased.com.
Niagara Based is the home base of many of the observations that I make. I found that they're getting lost in the algorithm on all of my social media work. And as well as social media has the medium is the message. And when I'm posting on social media, it's just another freaking social media post. But when I'm posting on my website, it's like a step above. And and in terms of the target audience, which is, you find folk, but it's also the people in the building. It's the obnoxious corporate journalists who think they're better than me and you and everyone. They're going to be reading the website and they're going to be outraged that it exists. And that's part of the point, but not just to drive an emotional message. It's to clearly distinguish the difference between news and opinion. Now, as I'm writing under the news category, which is probably where we should be looking right now. Because I'm
just scrolling through some of the comments.
That's right.
Sorry,
so what do
you want me to hit?
Yeah. Right. So we got the news. Zoom on in. Let's give your viewers a break on their eyes.
Zoom on in. Settle down. I'm not prepared.
We got to see these headlines.
Easy.
This website has been custom designed by yours truly to make it clean and easy to access a wide variety of topics. As you can see on the right, there's a tag cloud which addresses the variety of topics, and then there's the categories, the sections: news, opinion, videos, so forth. So those are the top stories. Now we can see it. Now we can see it nice and clean.
Not used to my guests actually monitoring my feed. Holy cow. Nice
well, what am I supposed to do? What are we here for?
You're a guest and a producer. It's awesome. Yeah, so you're right. Now I got it.
I really am the whole package.
Yep. Littleton, you want to start with her, I guess?
Littleton posts hot take,
yeah,
then announces she isn't running again, then deletes the tweet. It's fun. Remember this story? Were you following this? This is this week's little fiasco.
I don't know how I get dragged into it, but my alias that is broadcasting live right now, which used to be Rock Our Town, is now Jim Fannon Live. And for some reason, I get notifications, even though I don't follow, Carrie Porter. So when I'm checking my alt account, which is not my alt account, it's just one of my many accounts that I've had. It's I had Jim Fannon Show. They both got axed. Then I turned Team Niagara into Jim Fannon Lives, and I turned Rock Our Town, which was a non-functioning, used to be a promotion for local music site. I used to run a 24-hour jukebox and just broadcast live on 5 platforms 24/7.
I know. Yes.
It was cool. No commercials, whatever. I didn't do a very good job of selling it, but so I changed that to at Jim Fannon. So anyways, for whatever reason, if I switch over to that account, I get Carrie Porter's notification.
Yeah, Grant Lafish gets Carrie Porter notifications too.
Yeah. And I made sure I'm not following her, and she's not following me, because some people would follow that account being that it used to be Rock Our Town, right? But anyway.
Yeah, that's probably because you used the account to creep on her feed. And then they know, hey,
so that's the only way.
Are you interested in Carrie Porter?
Yeah, no, I don't.
We got notifications for you.
It's got to be a sad day.
So what popped up? What did it say?
Guys are doing.
What did it say?
It was part of this whole Lori Littleton thread, I believe, because then I see you commented on it or retweeted it or quote tweet. I don't know how I got dragged into it. But normally, yeah, I don't go looking for the Niagara stuff, but sometimes you just can't get away from it. You wake up at 4 a.m, you get a notification, you check it, and next thing you're dragged into some, crazy local politics where this woman's talking about people hanging. Here, let's go to there's the picture. The overpass on, I got a bad crop. Here we go. And this is one of your tweets. So then it's not time to talk about this? Like, time to talk about this. It's the corny hashtags. I even jumped in and quote tweeted her. And then, even for my small account that's just over 3,000, it's not like back in the day when I had Jim Fannon at 15,000, where I got lots of action. I'm a small account again. I don't get that kind of action. But I was enjoying the people that were getting exposed to her by quote tweeting it and going like, this is silly. Hashtag. It's just all, it's silly. Like, think about this. You've got fuck Trudeau, basically. I don't know exactly what it says, but F Trudeau is basically the message. You could probably tell us what it says.
It's an uncensored flag. It says fuck Trudeau, and if you like Trudeau, fuck you too.
Yeah. Which is
actually a much more offensive. I want to make that point.
Yeah, but at least
the flag on the right
funny.
Is way more offensive.
Like it's. I mean, I don't know. I see some humor in it, anyways. But I'm just saying, which one's more offensive? Look at all those Canadian flags. Does that offend you? And the "Don't tread on me." Come on, man. You can't. There's no way that you can link that to white supremacy. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I've been struggling to clearly articulate how ridiculous it is, and I guess that's the thing. It sucks. So what we're looking at here is Kerry Porter ally Lori Littleton borrowing some Kerry Porter rhetoric, which is NDP rhetoric, which is Toronto Star rhetoric. So it's not like Lori Littleton is operating in a vacuum as she points her camera at a guy with a Gadsden flag and says, "Uh-oh, a white supremacist." She's really just being a thoughtless follower on what her clique says about it. But the clique's wrong, deeply wrong. And it's an ongoing thing that I find this ties into the male alienation. Is this not another example of a sort of an uppity, well-to-do woman in power provoking male alienation? So a couple of days ago, Lori Littleton made this tweet. It got, as you described, a lot of action. It got basically ratioed. Once people who didn't like this tweet found it, then it got ratioed. And then a couple of days later, she released a letter, and the letter said that she would not be running for re-election because her employer can't let her be exposed to the risk of code of conduct violations, and there are vexatious and silly code of conduct complaints, and so she can't be involved in city council anymore because of that. And so then she deleted the tweet, and off it goes. But we have it forever because we're the screenshots. We do the screenshots, and we have it forever. So.
Nancy Graham commented in, and I just switched over quickly to a live feed of CBC I don't know, it's getting ugly in Ottawa.
Were they kneeling on his neck?
I don't know, man.
I saw a kneel on a neck.
What is going on here, man? It's just part of this whole deep.
Well, when you switch to that, this seems kind of like a petty little screenshot we got here. But
Nancy just said, quick update: the cops are knocking heads now at the tomb of the unknown soldier. So I just flipped around a little bit to see if I could find a clip, and they just happened to play a little bit of it on CBC. So, but you're right. You put it in context. What's more important? But this is it's all part of the same topic. This is what it's all about, man. This is why James Topp is walking across the country. This is why we defy and do not comply. And I do see that you're wearing a hat that says "obey." That's funny.
I mean it sincerely. Actually, it's an ironic hat. I mean it ironically.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move through.
Committee.
Love you, Lori. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Yeah, exactly. Committee Racial Diversity Worksheet all.xls. Oh, Sale. Yeah.
Sale.
My communist friend.
Rudy.
I've shared the stage with Sale a couple times. Actually fought to get him on a debate at one time. I'm not sure. Did I think I got him on a debate one time because I demanded to be on and I demanded that he come with me, and I think it worked.
Jim Fannon, platforming communists.
Yeah. I wanted him up there. I think he's a solid dude, but we obviously couldn't be further away from our ideas on this kind of stuff. So
seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, tell me about this spreadsheet. I didn't really understand it.
Well, this is a screenshot from the St. Catharines Anti-Racism Committee, June 15th. And in the screenshot, what we got here is a racial and identitarian tally of every single committee, how many have applied and how many have been approved. They're keeping count. And I thought that was an interesting demonstration of the inner workings of anti-racism. For some reason, anti-racism means keeping count of people's skin colors on spreadsheets.
It's just when you put it so simply like that, it's so obviously racist. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, it's racial. It's certainly opening the topic of race in a way that is a bit neurotic.
Yeah, you can't get away from it. They bring race and sex into everything. And gender, race, gender, and sex, I guess, because they seem to be bringing sex in everywhere where it involves children, or it's my imagination. And every time AOC opens her mouth, it's about being a woman and how rough it is being a woman of color. I don't know, she's Latino, isn't she? She's Puerto Rican, I think. AOC. Is Puerto Rican? It
depends who she's talking. I think.
I guess. I don't know. But it seems like it's all part of the same thing. So it's all working together, all this stuff. It's all hitting us at the same time. It's crazy. Anyways, I can't.
Yes, and this is merely a small illustration of something much larger that's coming to Niagara region, which is really the top news of the month as far as I'm concerned, which is the Niagara Region Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion 5-year plan. If you recall, Lenin had 5-year plans, Stalin had 5-year plans, and now Niagara Region, 5-year plan. Coming soon, diversity, equity, and inclusion to transform the very foundation of everything that Niagara Region does.
Crazy, man. What do you say? What can you say?
Well, you can keep looking at the headlines and looking at the receipts. That's what they're there for.
Exhibit A. Public Health Measures Act are not equivalent to rape. August 16th, 2021. Exhibit B. Forcing anyone to undergo an unwanted medical procedure is assault. June 7th, 2022. Who are you quoting here?
Oh, our favorite. A former diversity, equity, and inclusion chair. No, sorry. I don't know if she was chair, but former member.
Yeah, she was chair.
She was chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
I think she was chair of that committee.
So at the time, speaking as the chair of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, screenshotting my post, which was screenshotting Grant Lafish's post, which was a retweet of Karima. Karima taking issue with people saying that vaccine mandates are rapey. She's like, nuh-uh. And then rape is when you're forced or coerced into being penetrated. Okay, so then Emily Spanton, DEI chair, goes out of her way to, I don't usually get involved with the vitriol, but this time.
Right, I don't normally.
I ignore this vitriol.
Right.
First of all, there's no vitriol. These people look at the word. It's actually not bitter criticism. So it's not vitriolic. It may be something you deeply dislike, may provoke vitriol in you, but And then this is obviously a complete 180 from the position taken just 6 months later. And the context in the other tweet was something about only girls can play girls soccer. So the problem is confirming that you're a girl, which means some sort of medical exam, which means that's being examined to confirm your gender is sexual assault, but having something injected into you. I mean, I'm sure if you're looking at it one and then the other, I think we've made the point. It's a goofy, what a goofy lady. I wish her the best. She seems like she's dealing with some stuff very publicly, often, and I wish her well. Like I don't wish any more ill bad experiences for her. She, her, and L.
Here's what it boils down to, though. You cannot escape your own way of being, right? And this girl is, she should be responsible for her way of being. She's like, I've got a history with her. There's a certain reputation that goes around with all of us. And if you just cement it over and over again, then people start to believe what they hear. You know what I mean? So she's got to be responsible for, her own place in this, because I don't know.
As we all do. And that is the message. The message is radical responsibility is the message I try to say and be. So while we do talk about others, we always have issues ourselves. So
yeah,
the
and we
hypocrisy
share a strange,
remarkable. And I wish Spanton all the best in her future endeavors.
Yeah, well,
sorry that you're no longer on the DEI committee.
Speaking to the hypocrisy, she's guilty for doing the same thing that they tried to cancel me for. She apologized and got accepted back in because of her politics, and right. I did not apologize and was not accepted back into the fold, to the point where they won't even take my call. And you know what? I'm never past taking a call. Like, if I saw Grant Lafish come across my phone, I'd answer it, and I'd say, "What the hell's up, man? What's up? Where you been? How come they've sent you off to Siberia at the Hamilton Spectator?" Like, I'd be joking with them right off. I'd be the same guy I was when we had a good relationship, and we did for many years, Lori Yip included. Like, we were tight. Grant and I weren't so tight.
Did you hear that Alexis on Fire and City and Color coming back to St. Catharines this weekend?
Yeah, Born and Raised, or whatever it's called.
It's gonna be friggin' 2007 all over again.
They shut the whole park down for the week. Kids can't even go to the playground now because City and Color is doing a reunion show.
Hey, God bless them. It's God bless them.
Oh, that's great. I would have been all over. I would have been having them on the show.
I'm actually very pleased to see that. I was involved in the Scene Music Festival. I loved Scene Fest. I thought that was a great time.
It was awesome.
It made me love St. Catharines. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have loved that fucking shithole.
That's Lord Stumble. He's responsible for that whole mess.
I
love that guy.
Good guy. Jennifer.
Not such a big fan of hers.
The other
I'm
lady,
a huge
Jennifer,
fan of Lord Stumble. Stevie Stumble. Lots of love.
Good time.
Yeah, we're thinking about you with the park taking over for another.
I'm a big fan of both of them for different reasons.
Anyway.
So yeah, that's going on. Well, we've hit a few of the stories tonight. We've hit a few of the stories at NiagaraBased.com. It's not totally finished. Work in progress. Getting her done. We got this dealt with. What's the next on the hit list?
The pride flag. You remember the good old days when they used to paint the flag on the road and you can go down there with your 67 Mustang with big slicks in the back and do a big burnout on it? Because I
do not recall
all the marginal. I do not. But you did the cartoon with the cameras, the security cameras all pointing down on the pride flag. Remember the big deal about somebody did a burnout on the pride flag? Oh my God! Why are you painting flags on the road for if you don't want people driving on it and doing burnouts?
It's entirely unprecedented. Can you think of any other anything else that's been on the roadways? Exactly how does this help our civil engineering? Like, it's a roadway, and it's been invaded. And that's not good. That's not good because it's a flag, which is a political statement. It's a far left political statement. Although the left has acquiesced at large to the far left. So one wonders what's the difference between the far left and the left. But nevertheless, it's a far left. Like its fundamental conceptions are further left than most people who call them on the left. Most people on the left are liberals. Like liberal. Most liberals, this is an illiberal ideological conception that has been iconographically placed everywhere. So that's nice.
Well, I didn't get the whole Bell. What am I talking about? The Brock University connection. They added a purple stripe or something. Like, tell me the story on this thing.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Give us the history of the pride flag.
Well, what you're looking at is the Progress Pride flag, and the Progress Pride flag is the one with the chevrons, which are the triangles that overlap. And Brock University raised the pride flag first in January of 2020. And I was on their feed and taking screenshots at the time. And in their feed, on the image, it explained what the meaning of the colors were. And the meanings are black and brown, representing black and brown people, blue and pink representing trans, and purple representing the indigenous of Niagara. And they added the purple, but they never gave credit to the original artist, which is Daniel Quasar from Portland, Oregon. So the
funny that
flag that we're
all evil originates in Portland, doesn't it?
We all live in Portlandia now.
Yeah, exactly. In 1984.
Put a bird on it. Remember the bird? Put a rainbow on it. And I there's a difference between the rainbow and the chevrons, because the rainbow represents 6 universal principles, like including sunlight and spirit. Literally, one of the colors of the pride flag is spirit. But the colors of the chevrons are identitarian groups, and not the Jews, and not the Muslims, and not the Chinese, and not if you're deaf, and not if you're disabled, and not if you're in some other way having a hard time gaining access to government services. So it's limited. So it's this Portlandian perspective, this like far left coast perspective being shoehorned into everyone else. It's the absolute worst symbol for inclusivity, for universal inclusivity possible, because it only mentions a certain context, and a context that only exists in a very narrow field of human experience. Like, what's the point of this flag in other countries? So maybe it makes sense in Portland, and maybe it makes sense for an individual, just a regular person being like, I like this flag, I'm going to raise this flag. And I say to that person, great, I'm glad you're able to feel represented through that flag. But where we cross into the line of the inappropriate is when this political statement becomes road decoration, and when it becomes raised by schools and churches and municipal city halls. So they gave us a real bait and switch. They showed us a rainbow, and then when everyone accepted the rainbow, they gave us rainbow plus chevrons. And rainbow plus chevrons equals equity. And we've talked about this before, Jim. Equity is not equality. Equity is equality with a God complex. Equity is I want everything to be equal, and I will make it so. And of course, anyone wielding equity has no frame of reference to be able to measure equalness. It's a feeling of equalness. These equity pushers. So we're in a real tough spot, because they just painted a $30,000 paint job of this flag across the building behind me here. The roadway now has another rainbow flag, and it's very bizarre. And this is all happening very quickly, and that should be concerning because it's got very heavy duty changes happening in society very quickly, and what makes it ever more toxic and alienating is the notion that by criticizing and opposing the symbol, the pride flag symbol, that there's anything homophobic about it. Did I actually even mention homosexuality in my criticism of a flag? No. But if I dare criticize the symbol that they have raised, then it's as if I'm criticizing the people that it supposedly represents.
Yeah, well, I think the point you're making, and it's a good one, that just because you're against something doesn't mean you're for the opposite. The polar opposite.
Yeah, but that's the bamboozle. That's the very dangerous bamboozle. I mean, that's the cultural revolution with no limiting principle. Mm-hmm. And yeah, our culture deserves to make progress. But making progress without a limiting principle means there's nothing to regulate the limits. There's no limits. And that's very dangerous, to have a corrosive ideology that has no limits, because it will corrode and corrode and corrode through each layer of limits. And it's 2022. And what they did is they said, hey, let's build a pride crosswalk. Now, when you picture a crosswalk, think of was it Abbey Hill? Isn't that the Beatles cover? Abbey Road?
Abbey Road, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
That's the crosswalk,
iconic,
right?
Yeah.
White, those white bars that go. Mm-hmm. And so what they used to do, they're like, hey, in our trendy town, we're going to make those white bars little rainbows. And that was a pride crosswalk. But then it became like a flag. And so, yeah, we agreed, okay, that'd be cute to do little colored rainbows on a crosswalk. That's cute. But it's like this bait and switch. It's like the camel gets its nose under the tent and the bull is in the china shop. Like once you've given them an inch, they've taken a mile. And why would that stop now? Be like, oh, we're good. We've totally exploited everything up until now, but we're not going to exploit things moving forward. We're just going to stop here. So there's a lot of reason to be very concerned about the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. As we know, there's a number that keeps coming up in all of their plans, and maybe it's just, a goal, but that number is 2030. And Niagara region experts and policies are consistently referencing the World Economic Forum, the Sustainable Development Goals, UNESCO, and Agenda 2030 unabashedly. They're not like shy about it. There's no shame in it for them. They believe in sustainability, and so why would you be opposed to Sustainable Development Goals? And so I just watched their climate change summit that took place at Brock a couple of days ago. It was a couple hours long. There's some interesting clips, and then we got that on the website, and we should play the clip because we can't talk more than an hour tonight, so we should call it quits too. But let's switch to this, because and as we switch to it, we're switching to Niagara-based news, looking for Jim Bradley uses minors to push climate propaganda. And I want to remind viewers that the climate agenda, while entirely boring and almost speaks for itself about how pathetic it is. I mean, if you recall, the climate agenda was defeated 15 years ago. Well, in 2011, there was ClimateGate, and they fixed the numbers. They lost all their credibility, and so they had to wait a whole generation to propagandize a whole generation. And so they waited a good 10 years, and they brought it back. And so now they're rolling heavy with climate change. And we've got here, I find this to be reprehensible, Jim. We've got the Jim Bradley's, he's the chair of Niagara Region, and he has children spokespersons, the Youth Advisory Group. And so what they do is they have a list of liberal goals, and they've recruited a dozen children to speak on their behalf. And it's as if the children want these things. The children want 2030, the Agenda 2030 goals, of course. The United Nations race to zero. That means zero carbon emissions by 2050 is what they've asked these people, the Niagara region leaders, to commit to. And they did it through the mouth of children. I mean, is that, you feel it, don't you? You actually understand how sick that is. So I call them the Bradley Youth, like the Hitler Youth, but with Jim Bradley, because it's just recruiting the voice of babes to push government propaganda. I find that to be extremely reprehensible.
You know, I will say it's the first time I heard, well, and I don't listen to these things, but they were talking about adapting, and I have not heard that as a policy, because we need to learn to adapt. We're not going to change the way the weather changes for the next, I mean, I think that human beings...
Yeah, don't get played, though. Don't get played by the word games, bro.
No, I mean, if we stop burning fossil fuel today, we can't stop what's coming. If the idea is we've done damage to the atmosphere or the climate, then it's done. We're not, even if we stop today, it's not going to help anything with what's coming. So adapting is more important. And I get that this is all, I can't even believe how much money we're going to spend on, everyone wants to be sustainable, but at what cost? Like, really, literally, what cost? And you know what the problem is there's the pockets are bottomless. Like, the money just keeps coming because it comes from us. So they just keep spending our money on these ideals that are not accomplishing the goals that they're intended to.
Right. Well, they're not accomplishing the goals they're presented as, but I'm quite sure they're accomplishing the goals they're intended to.
Well, you got a point there. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, because if the intended goal was to reduce climate change, they're not achieving those goals. We're not saving any money by taking all these precautions. And, 2020, all the icebergs were supposed to be melted. Remember? They had signs put up that the sign will not be here in 2020.
Fuck. The climate change was discredited. But, when you watch these kids present their points they're going to make here, if this is the video, we watch these kids, they're making arguments that are kind of like obsolete. They're kind of like the basic old arguments that we used to hear, and it's because they're kids who hear it in school. So
race to zero, pledging to take the needed action to cut their emissions in half by 2030. We appreciate that we may not have all the pieces in place and all the data we require to make this commitment today. But this room represents some of the most powerful leaders in our community. And we respectfully encourage you, on behalf of Niagara's youth, to take the necessary steps to join with the thousands of other businesses, cities, and schools and countries.
You know what occurs for me watching this? The most tragic part of this is we're selling our children fear. We're telling them they're growing up in a wasteland that's doomed, that it's all going to end, and it's all totally on them. We've brainwashed them for fear.
And that point will be even more abundantly clear after you see their propaganda video, which is in about a minute.
Across the globe, and commit Niagara to doing our part to impact climate change. The choices you make today in this room and going forward will have an impact on our futures and the futures of next generations. As we prepare to wrap up our presentation to you today, as the voice of youth in Niagara, we ask you to do what is right to make our sustainable future a reality. That you make a true commitment to make a difference, that you take actions today to benefit from tomorrow, and last but not least, that you keep the voices of Niagara's youth at the table.
Just before
I wonder if there's any way back for a young girl like this that's been so indoctrinated so deeply. Is she ever going to get red-pilled? How long is it going to take before she wakes up and goes, oh, maybe it's not exactly what they told me. Maybe we've been through this before. Maybe we've been sold other lies. Maybe I'm not fighting the good fight out here. She's less than 20 years old, this girl. So is there any hope for these two, or are they gone?
Well, I would say that they have intelligence and talent, which is being exploited like grooming. So will they be able to free themselves from the ideological groomers? Oh, who can say? One can hope. But I've been a young person before. Once I was a young person, and many of my lofty ideals, I challenge, and I discovered. Amen. And so, that's.
There's always
I think the answer is yeah. I think that. Before we wrap. It depends how successful they are with their grift.
Right.
Also,
yeah, you want to add something before we start.
If she becomes not just a young Bradley, a Bradley youth, but then gets invited to become a young leader at the World Economic Forum, then that grooming process into a system proceeds over a 15-year period, and it's about access, and it's about prestige, and it's about success, all of these things that any smart young person would want to be striving towards. They're offering all these things, and the only cost is to become advocates of the United Nations agenda. Of course, it's no big deal. So watch the video. Let's watch the video, because this is. Whew.
Yeah, I thought you were going to add something before we
wrap up. This is a video from the RCYAP panel members.
Climate change is important to me because it defines our future, defines the world that I'll live in and the world that my kids will live in.
It's a truly universal issue. There is nobody who it doesn't affect.
Everyone, in some sense, will experience the effects of this large global issue.
The thing that scares me most about climate change is how rapidly it is happening right under our noses.
Scientists are saying that if climate change isn't reversible, it's 50 to 250 years that we're gonna have left. 50 years. I will be 64 in 50 years.
It is a global issue. No matter where I go, you cannot outrun the effects of rising average global temperature.
Each decade since the 1980s is getting hotter and hotter. And though it's only by 1.5 degrees, we can already feel the effects that climate change has on us.
Sea levels.
If this was training for acting class, then I'd be proud of these people because they're inspiring the kids. But they're obviously reading cue cards. They can't even come off natural.
Are rising. Animals are losing their homes.
I mean, that is absolutely what is so preposterous about this, is to say this is the voice of the youth.
Right.
But literally, they're reading the
scripts of
the talking points that serve Jim Bradley. These are the Bradley youth. Jim Bradley is using minors to push his political agenda. That is reprehensible. Nobody else could get away with that. Let me tell you, if I got all our kids together to push like an anti-mandate video, do you think they'd let that fly? Do you think they'd be like, oh, wow, you're using your children for propaganda. Good for you. Do you think they'd be like that? They wouldn't like that. They don't like when we have our kids holding signs that say, I deserve to be free. So there's no frigging way we would get away with a propaganda video like this. But they just slip it by. You got to watch the end of the video because
worse than slip it by, this is applauded at such a huge level.
That's right. No, it was applauded in the room. So you have to imagine it's Monday, June, the beginning of this week. They're having their climate conference, their summit. There's 120 movers and shakers from Niagara region, including Jim Bradley, Gary Porter. All of the movers and shakers are in the room. Halfway through their conference, so they've had the mayor of Guelph, Karen Farbridge, giving a keynote address, pushing everyone to a net zero future. That means a carbon neutral net zero future by 2050. After that keynote address, they bring up some kids. And then after the kids speak, they play this video. And we'll watch the end of the video.
Increased risk of cancer.
And it's not a political issue, and we should all be on the same side about it because we all want the same thing.
What scares me the most is that it's my future and the future of possibly my children and grandchildren.
Despite all the education and despite all the learning we've done about it, we still haven't made a dent.
I take it from a student myself, procrastinating never works out.
If we go too far with polluting our region, there won't be a way to turn back.
Climate change is not something that you can put on the back burner. It will not wait.
We can't wait anymore. There is no plan B.
How much time do we have left before we have to make a big change? Or is it too late already?
We need to do it now, and we need to change.
I think that we need to do more now before it's too late.
This is important. We need to take action. We can't delay.
If we keep pushing it back and saying, oh, we'll do it, we'll be able to fix it, we're not able to fix it anymore. That's what we've been doing for the last 100 years. We need to work on it now or it's not going to be changeable.
Dealing with climate change.
Climate change.
Climate change.
Dealing with climate change is important.
Niagara's leaders need to know.
You need to know.
You need to know.
Need to know.
This can't wait.
This can't wait.
Can't wait.
The time is now.
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 The time is now.
The time is now.
Now is the time for us to take action.
To take action.
For us to take action.
Our voices need to be heard.
Before it's too late.
Before it's too late.
Before it's too late.
Too late.
Too late.
Dude, this is absolutely shocking that they could put kids in this position and make them feel that hopeless and fill them with that amount of fear. And
and then to use that as a political bludgeon to dismantle our society.
And no one says a word. It's fine. Push your propaganda, push your political agenda, because it's all for the greater good. They're being sold lies and being used as propagandists, and it's shilling at the lowest level. I can't even believe it. I missed this one. Was missed.
It's rough.
Mm-hmm.
That is rough. And you can imagine that video we just watched was on a large screen in a large room at Brock University. So all of the assumed credibility and authority that comes with that medium, that architecture, that space, all of that was imbued into that. So it's not just a couple of kids putting on a video. This is like propaganda. Cynically developed propaganda. Thanks, Jim Bradley. And we will remember this. I will make sure. So this is why this is what Niagara Base is all about now. Calling them out, taking notes. So I mean, you can look on the Niagara Base website. You'll see a story about this, and you'll see also there's some information to a thing called Niagara Adapts, because they're basically the World Economic Forum has like a Rolodex of all the municipal leaders, and they set up conferences, and over the last 15, 20 years have been grooming the entire municipal political spectrum. The entire municipal world has been groomed by the World Economic Forum. I shit you not. And you can view on the website World Economic Forum quotes on that article. So if you're looking at the Jim Bradley uses minors article and you scroll down, you'll see that there's actual World Economic Forum references. And of course there would be. So they're true believers. They're true believers in the new order. And those of us dinosaurs trying to resist the inevitability of progress are doomed, they say. Well, I think they live in lies and we live in truth. And as such, our victory is inevitable. That's what I tell myself. Let's see what happens.
All right, homie.
Yeah.
Well done as usual. I appreciate your time. It is 9:09, so we've overstayed our welcome by a little bit, but I'm glad to go. Hey, last time we went 2 hours, and I thought it was one of the best shows I've done.
It was good. It was too good.
It was too good. Primo came up after a couple days later, I think, and he was great as well. And
did we get the whole list of those? We got the.
I think I've got all the links you sent me, but I can hit more.
Well, we didn't do the. I didn't see the pride flag and the Gadsden flag, but we covered all that. Yeah, so that's all good. We got it.
We have it up. There it is, right there.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, we talked about all those issues, and I appreciate you, Jim. Thanks for giving me the time. And if anyone out there wants
I wanted to get your take on. Sorry, before you close. Your thoughts. I talked to Greg Vesna the other day, And he said, you know what? If a constituency office or an elected official gets half a dozen emails on a certain topic, they make a note. And when they get a dozen, they write a report. And when they get 20, they send the report to the MP. And like, I just interested in a hopeful thought of like, what's your recommendation for people to resist and make a healthy choice for their children? Like, what are you telling people to do, to have hope, how to be, and, you know, keep your eyes open? Like,
drink water, touch your toes, clean your room, bucko.
Jordan Peterson got banned from Twitter too, for making some references.
Jordan Peterson got kicked off of Twitter?
Yeah, they locked him out because he made a reference to a certain Hollywood type double mastectomy in her transition. His transition, I don't know. Yeah. Talking about Elliot is his name? Her name? Elliot?
Oh, now you're in trouble.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, no, they locked him out.
That's sad to see. That's
and he said
repressive tolerance, and that will have a negative impact on the society at large.
Repressive tolerance.
You can't just repress things you don't like, because you have to deal with them instead of repressing them. So, you know, we've talked about repressive tolerance.
No,
before,
I've seen you mention it many times, but we've never really discussed the idea behind it.
Well, it's from Herbert Marcuse, who is a Marxist philosopher from the 60s, and he suggested that the best way to advocate, basically to shift the Overton window to the left, to deny the right any platform and to always criminalize the actions of the right while platforming the left and defending the criminal actions of the left. And that's basically what we've been living through, certainly very acutely in the last three to 5 years. And there's no reason at all to think it's about to get better. The good news is that it's obvious, and that makes it like easier to point out. So, yeah, I feel all right. I'm selling a couple books. So I got, did you know I got a Grant Lafish book. It's just Grant in the book.
Nice, right.
24 pages. It's a 24 page edition.
Nice.
Here, show the people.
Okay, hang on.
24 page edition.
Show the people. Okay, there we go. We're showing the people.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, even with your background.
Nice and big, much bigger than the original version. This is going to be available on the website. Oh shit!
Hang on. I gotta recrop the fucking thing.
It's going to be available on the website for. I can't go any higher.
No. I just got to recrop you. I got a close up of your face there. Hang on. Here we go. Oh, now it's disappearing. Hold it. I was just about to say how incredibly clear it is, like on that camera. It's a nice little job there, bro.
It's a nice. There you go. This is a print per order, so you'll be able to just go to Amazon and pick it up for $15 when the website launches later in this week. And then we got our own kids book, my own kids book I'm coming out with, which I did.
Awesome.
This is My Pet Fly, and this is for our son, for our little guy, and these are some of the drawings from that book. So I'm writing the text for this, and we're going to get this out next week. So that's what I'm trying to do for employment and for money, is make product and promote the product and get it sold, and then that's the plan. So
cool.
Thanks again, Jim. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Nancy says goodbye. I have to go. It's Super Conspiracy Thursday. Must get my tinfoil hat on now. Bye, Jim. Bye, Sandor. Love. Nancy Graham.
Yeah, that's. I got it under. Take care.
All right, brother. Talk soon.
Bye.
Peace out. That's how you do that. Ah, it's too big. Why are you so big? You're so big. Too big. It's so big. Oh, you're so big. All right, so that is that. I'm not gonna chat too much more because I've got things to move on to. The links are in the show description. Here's the fake book account. There is the twatter. All these links are there, I think, so you can find them all. So peace, love, hug your neighbor, and whatever you do, stand. Defy. Do not comply. And take that freaking mask off your kid's face. I love you. I'm out.